Good morning and welcome. We are here at week 5 of understanding the paperwork that you need for your pre approval. And we're going to get started in just a minute. It is just about the top of the hour. It is Tuesday, March. I'm sorry, I'm already at March. I'm thinking about March already for some reason. It's Tuesday, January 22nd, and we are in week 5. It has been such an amazing and exciting journey as we are proceeding with the 90-day homebuyer challenge. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you that have taken the time to commit yourselves and 90 days towards what it takes to actually get prepared to own your new home. And so this week we are talking about understanding the paperwork that is needed for pre-approval. I will let you know up front that this will probably not take a full 30 minutes as our normal sessions do. However, I am going to jam pack this session with all of the information that you need in order to ensure that you're properly prepared as you begin to gather your financial documents in preparation for approval. And so I just really want to get started today with a recap of what we've done thus far. So week 1, we talked about, are you ready to buy, and shifting your mindset inside of preparation for home ownership. And inside of that conversation, we talked about goals. And many of you all have sent me your goals, and I have also given you some feedback as it relates to, the goals that you've created, and then, the action items that are associated with those to ensure that you stay on task for preparing for those goals and then executing on them. And so week 1 was all about goal setting and getting yourself in the mindset of being ready to buy. Week 2, we talked about managing your money and budgeting basics. And so, that doggone B word, I tell you, budgeting is one thing that can definitely become a hindrance in the home buying process. However, that's one of the reasons that we decided to go ahead and to capture it and to talk about it on the front end. And so you all have worksheets. Many of you have completed the worksheets as it relates to budgeting. And what that entailed was really sitting down and taking a look at your bank statements and figuring out, what are you spending your money on every month, and what are some areas that you could potentially pull back from. The eating out, the movies, the cable, all of those sorts of things that, when we take a look at what is the income that we bring in on a monthly basis, and then we take a look at what we're spending, the big thing that we're looking at is what is that bottom line? Because as you know, and in future conversations, we are going to get into, what type of money do I need to have saved in order to start the purchase process? And so one of the first things that we do take a look at is your budget, and what do you have coming in? What do you have going out every month? And then what's left? And with what's left, what can you begin to put away so that you're fully prepared once you have found your house, you're under contract, we're going through the financing process, and you're almost ready to close? What are those financial commitments that you're making on the front end of the process and throughout the process so that you're fully prepared? So that was week 2. Week 3 and week 4 were super, super juicy. So if you missed it, I will encourage you to go back to the YouTube page, Mortgage Mom, and take a look at week 3 and week 4 as we discussed everything related to credit with Jerry Tolliver. If you have not joined her Facebook page, Credit Junkies, you're missing out. It's a wealth of information there. Also, she has Project 100, where she is looking to help 100 people save $1,000, 100 people increase their credit score to 720, 100 people in homes, and 100 people establishing business credit. And so I just love me some Jerry. She's always a ton of fun and great to chat with her and pick her brain. And so we talked about, you know, how do I improve credit? She gave us 5 tips and or tricks to begin boosting our credit scores. And then we talked the second week as we continued the conversation about credit. We talked about bankruptcy and short sale foreclosures. How do those life experiences alter, you know, your credit profile? And then what can you do to begin to reposition your credit, right? And so the way that I look at credit is, you know, it can be a roller coaster depending on what's going on in life, medical, job loss, or, you know, sometimes it's really just financial mismanagement. Whatever those things are that are creating some discomfort around our finances that then begin to impact our credit, those are the things that we discussed. How do we begin to recover from that? So go back to the page on YouTube and then take a look at week 3 and week 4 so you can make sure to get all those juicy, juicy credit tips. All right. All right. So here we are. We are in week 5. Amazing. Amazing. So this week, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Perfect. Hold on a second. All right, I got to figure out how to get my my screen back here. Let's see. There we go. I so apologize for that. All right. So, so today we're talking about all of the items that you need and that I will be, as your banker, looking for to complete your pre-approval. And so we're going to launch right in. And so I have this nice little handy dandy checklist. So if you see me taking a look or a glance at that, that's what I'm looking at. So the first thing that we are, once we've taken a look at credit and I have given you your credit assessment, the next thing that we take a look at is your income. And so we are going to require at least 2 years of W-2s. So the W-2s, I ask for W-2s and I ask for tax returns. Now your W-2s are what your employer gives you to then take to your tax person. So whether that's H&R Block or TurboTax, maybe you file them yourself, or maybe you have a personal accountant that completes your taxes for you. And so your W-2s actually come from your employer, and then you take that and they file your tax returns or your 1040, okay? And so we're going to ask you for a copy of at least the last 2 years. If you're looking to get down payment assistance, then it could be 3 years. More than likely it will be 3 years, because one of the ways that we take a look to see if you've actually had any type of ownership interest in the property or in a property over the last 3 years is we look at your tax returns, okay? And so we're specifically looking to see if your tax returns gives us anything that specifies that you may have owned a home in the last 3 years. So we're looking at your W-2s and then we're looking at your tax returns. W-2s we're looking at because we want to make sure that the income that you've actually submitted to the IRS is the same amount of income that you actually have filed or have received based off of your W-2s. With that being said, the W-2s that you send over, that income should always match the tax returns that you've actually provided to us as the bank. So let's say that you worked 3 jobs and you only sent me over 2 W-2s. Well, 9 times out of 10, when I see the tax return that was filed for the corresponding year, then your income is probably going to be off. So we are looking for all of the W-2s that you've received in any given year to correspond with the income that you have claimed on your actual tax returns. The next thing that we're going to look at is your pay stubs. Your pay stubs give us an indication of what you are currently earning. And so we are able to take a look at your pay stubs. We typically need at least 1 month or 30 days consecutively of pay stubs. Now, your pay stubs allow us to see, if you're an hourly employee, if you're a salaried employee, if you receive your income biweekly, and then it allows us to do an accurate calculation of what your gross income is on a monthly basis. It will also show us, any overtime that has been earned, any bonuses that have been earned. And so typically, in order to use overtime income, in order to use bonus income, we're going to need to see that that income has continued or been continuous and consistent for the previous 2 years. So sometimes I'll ask you to send me the last pay stub from the previous year. And the reason why I'm asking you to send me that last pay stub from the previous year, as well as the year before that, is so that I can see consistently that you've actually had the same amount of overtime and the same amount of bonus income. And then we do a 2-year average, okay? And so let's say that you had a $2,000 bonus in 2016, a $2,000 bonus in 2017, but only a $1,000 bonus in 2018. Well, I've got to make an adjustment for that, because 9 times out of 10, the consistency of that bonus income has not been taken into consideration in terms of the decline from the most recent year. If it's consistent throughout, then we're going to use the consistency. So we ask for pay stubs to make sure that we are accurately accounting for income. Now, some people will tell me that they work a second job. One of the things that you want to know about a second job is that also has to be continuous for the last 2 years. And so with that being said, let's say that you started driving Uber or Lyft, and you just started that 6 months ago. Well, good for you. However, that income will not be utilized for qualifying purposes because it hasn't been consistent for the last 2 years. The same is true for, if it's part-time. Part-time income as a second job needs to be continuous for 2 years. So there's kind of this 2-year rule of thumb when you're looking at any income that you want to use in order for it to be qualifying income. Now, I want to take a pause there because sometimes we do have other income types that are utilized in the pre-approval process. For example, Social Security income, pension income, or retirement income. With that, we want to see that it is likely, as well as child support. We want to ensure that all of those sources of income, in the event that you are utilizing that to qualify, that will continue over the course of the next 3 years. So for child support, if you're using child support income to then qualify for your mortgage and you want us to take that income into consideration because it is consistent, we are going to want to see that that income is going to continue over the last 3 years. And so I may ask you for the document that shows when the child support started and then when it is anticipated to end. And so these are additional documents that the first go round that we are collecting your financial paperwork may not always be asked for, but upon my review, I may ask for supporting documentation such as that. Social Security, we're going to want to see 3 bank statements to show that that income has been deposited. We're also going to want to see your most recent Social Security award letter, and that's the way that we verify Social Security income. So there are different nuanceical details inside of the paperwork that is required when you're looking to get pre-approved. So with that, I'll say, don't get frustrated in the process, right? If your lender, hopefully that's me, is asking you for additional paperwork, I want you to make sure that you're submitting it and they're not just asking recklessly or to be nosy. We're asking because there's something that we're taking a look at that has prompted us to ask for that additional information. Now that's income. The next thing that I'm going to request would be 2 months of your most recent bank statement. And your bank statements are asked to be reviewed for a couple of different reasons. The first one is that we want to see that you have sufficient funds to close, okay? And so we're going to have a conversation in a couple of weeks where we talk about how much money do I need That's a very good question. And so I want you to make sure that you stay tuned to hear, what are your commitments that we're going to ask of you when you're looking to borrow money from the bank in order to purchase. So your bank statements are used to A, make sure that you have money to close. B, we're also taking a look at your overall financial management. And so here's kind of where some people can get in trouble. If there are charges on your bank statements that are due to non-sufficient funds, please, please, please do not do that. The underwriter can then, at their discretion, say that you're not ready to purchase a home. And so we know that things happen from time to time. However, you do not want to have, bounce checks or items being reversed or anything that looks negatively upon the way in which you manage your finances. And your bank statements give us a pretty good glimpse of what's coming in on a monthly basis and then what's going out. The other thing that we're looking at with your bank statements is, are there any deposits that are outside of the realm of your income? So, many people decide to have direct deposit. So their payroll check is deposited into their bank statement. If there are deposits that are not associated with your current employer, we may ask you to tell us where that money came from. And depending upon the amount of the deposit, we may also ask to verify where those funds came from. So a good rule of thumb is not making any deposits outside of your pay stub, and then being mindful of what you have coming out of your account to ensure that you keep a healthy balance in your account and having the sufficient funds that are available to close. Okay. The next thing that we're going to ask you for is a picture ID. So your driver's license or your state ID. That's pretty self-explanatory. We want to ensure that the person that we are sitting in front of and the person that's sending over documents to us and the person that's also signing off on a loan application is actually the person that they say that they are. And that can be documented through your photo ID. So with that being said, make sure that you have a very clear picture. Oftentimes I'll say, hey, take a picture on your phone and then send that picture via text or email to me so that we can make sure that it's clear. When you try and fax it, oftentimes I cannot read all of the information that is on that photo ID. So we want to make sure that we don't have a blurry copy, that it's clean and crisp, okay? Next thing that we are going to be looking at once you are under contract is your purchase agreement, a copy of the canceled earnest money check, and then also the tax bill that's associated with that property. So your purchase agreement is actually going to come directly, typically from your real estate broker. Your earnest money, I'm going to request from you directly. However, your real estate broker should also have a copy of that. And the tax bill is something that I would then personally look up for you to ensure that all of the numbers that we go through are accurate. So here are a few tidbits inside of the paperwork and financial documents that are being requested. Number one, if you filed a bankruptcy within the last 7 to 10 years, I am going to ask you for a copy of your discharge paper. It will have a discharge date on it. In addition to that, I'm going to also ask you for a list of the creditors that were included in that bankruptcy. We do that to ensure that your credit report is completely reflective of the items that were filed on the bankruptcy. And if you were with us last week, we did discuss on an FHA loan, once your bankruptcy has been discharged, you have 2 years from the date of discharge to rebuild, and then you can apply for a home loan, okay? The other thing that we're looking at is consistency inside of your paperwork. So sometimes I will get a photo ID that has a current address on it, and then I'll have a bank statement, a pay stub, a W-2, tax return, any combination of those that will have a different address. Maybe it's a mailing address, maybe it's a previous address. Know that we are going to ask you for that because it's inconsistent throughout the loan application, and we're wanting to make sure that all of the information is consistent throughout the loan application. So that's just something else to think about. So again, don't let the paperwork scare you, right? It is a necessary part of having your pre-approval completed. If you have questions as the documents are being requested, please feel free to pick up the phone and give me a call. That is exactly what I'm here for, to explain to you and help you to understand why we're requesting what we're requesting. But the other piece is that you want to be prompt, right? So if you send me a document today, normally I am going to review that within 48 hours. Once I've reviewed your documents and then I send you an updated list and I say, hey, I received your pay stubs, I received your bank statements, but I still need W-2s, tax returns, and a photo ID, okay? Please try to be as timely as possible. If you send it to me 2 weeks later, 9 times out of 10, I have probably looked through 20 other loan files, and it'll take me a little bit more time to actually review and go back through your loan file to ensure that everything is accurate. So I want you to make sure that you are prompt, make sure that you are following the checklist as they are being provided to you. And then if you have questions, please do not hesitate to pick up the phone and give me a call, okay? Now, with that said, we are on week 5. I am super, super excited about the journey that we've been on thus far. Congratulations to all of you who are sticking with the program and doing what it is that you are being asked to do. You are well on your way to home ownership. Give me a call if you have any questions. Of course, I can be reached at 773-547-3677. I am Cecilia Marlowe, the Mortgage Mom, on Facebook. Feel free to also join Homebuyer University, your Homebuyer University on Facebook, as well as Credit Junkie for all of your credit information. I look forward to chatting with you next week. I've got a big surprise for you. So please make sure that you tune in, get your homework done this week. Take a look at the checklist that I'm sending over. Begin to pull that paperwork together. If you are behind on any assignments, you still have time. Go ahead and make sure that you get that in my inbox as soon as possible so that you can stay on task and stay on target for homeownership this year. I look forward to our continued success and our continued journey together. Thanks so much. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.